Do we introduce ourselves?
Yeah.
Or you introduce me?
Okay. Are we? Yes, we are live. Hey guys. Hello. Sorry about that. We're back up at only half hour late. This time round. So thank you for your patience. Thanks for waiting there. Nadine, you've already commented. That's awesome. So this is my dad, Ken.
Hello. This is my debut.
Yes. As live stream debut.
Yeah.
We've been quite excited to do this one for a while. A very special edition of the Film Club today. We're talking about the Rover. Hey, we home, welcome in. Hello, Nadine.
Hello, Nadine. How are you?
So we wanted to talk about the Rover today because I can't remember how it came up in conversation, actually. I think we just said it's one of Dad's favourite recent movies. Already Ken's biggest fan.
I haven't done anything yet. That's probably why.
Hey, Spiritual Demon, welcome in. Thank you. Hope you're well. God, that's too hot. Okay. So I think what we'll do to start with. Have you been watching anything else recently? What else have you been watching?
I've actually been watching Line of Duty.
Yes.
Like the past, like the latest one, the 6th series was not as good as some of the early ones, especially the 2nd and 3rd one.
Oh.
Although we're on the 4th one now, we've yet to watch the rest of it. So
Yeah.
I've just been. And Taboo, I watched that again because that's on BBC iPlayer.
Oh yeah, I need to
which
still
is
add
that is very good, even better than I remembered it.
Tom Hardy, was it?
Tom Hardy.
That sounds pretty good.
And there's so much in that one as well. I'd recommend that to anyone. If they haven't seen it, then they're in for a treat with that one, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys are in for a treat.
Yeah.
If you guys wanted to comment and saying what you've been watching this week, how your weeks have been, go ahead. The chat's obviously a bit delayed for us on this side, so we'll probably just get started talking about the Rover.
Yeah.
While you guys are chatting. Talk amongst yourselves.
Okay. Yeah. Feel free.
So if you wanted to, Dad's got.
Should I kind of give a synopsis?
Yeah.
And then as we go, we can add bits in.
Yeah.
Because I've done a brief synopsis,
Yes,
like notes and.
I think so, because you've got a pretty good detailed synopsis going on there.
So right, okay. Well, the movie's basically set in a post-apocalyptic Australia in the outback. A global economic collapse being the cause of the devastation there, with humanity de-evolving, and there's a state of virtual lawlessness. So anyway, the film starts with Guy Pearce. He plays a part. I think he's like the character's name's Eric, although it doesn't actually say it in the film.
No.
I think I found it out in the extras, but and he's sitting in his car, and then he goes into like a bar, very like run down, like shabby place. And while he's in the bar having a drink, there's some music on in there, and then it goes to there's a car like tearing down the road with 3 guys who botched a robbery. And you see that going on, and they've left 1 guy behind while they made their escape. Anyway, they're going down the road and they crash their vehicle. Like they start arguing with each other in the car, so the vehicle crashes. And this is just outside where Eric is having a drink, but he can't hear it, obviously. So because they crashed their vehicle, they nick his car. And he goes out and he sees them going off in his car, and he looks really pissed off about this.
Yeah. Cheese dog.
And thus ensues a chase, and Eric seems seemingly obsessed with retrieving his car. But we don't know why the obsession is unclear at that stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good synopsis, I think.
Well, that's kind of the beginning.
Yeah, that's just the beginning.
Yeah.
I think with the I just thought about it randomly when he said it. The music when he gets into the bar I thought was pretty cool. The whole soundtrack's really good in this as well, I thought.
Well, it's weird, and even the people who are in the bar, they're weird. Now, having watched the extras after, they said a lot of the people in it were real characters from the Australian outback.
Yeah.
They've got this kind of like Deliverance look about them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. Kristen, welcome in. Sorry, Kristen's in. That's
Hi, Kristen.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah.
So thus ensues a chase. Like Eric goes after him. When he catches up with them, eventually they have a bit of a tussle, and he wants his car back. They don't want to give him his car back, so they have a bit of a tussle, and they could have killed him because he gets whacked on the head with the butt of the gun.
Yeah.
But for some reason they don't kill him. They just, and it's a bit of a mistake on their part. To be honest, they probably wish they had done later on.
Yeah, they regret that.
They certainly do. Yeah. But whatever the reason, they go off in the car again, and he comes to later on the road, and he gets on with the chasing them yet again.
Yeah.
So then he goes to a kind of, it's like an opium den brothel kind of place.
Yeah.
And he wants to find out. Obviously, he's looking for where they've gone. So they can't say where he's gone. He has a bit of, he's very confrontational in there. And they have this grandmother character sitting in a chair in the back, and she's kind of saying to him, "What's your name?" and all that. But he doesn't want to engage in any kind of human contact, does he? He's got no kind of emotion.
He's almost got a barrier up, hasn't he? Cause he's kind of blocked himself.
He's not interested in any of the small talk or the.
Yeah.
He just wants to know. Anyway, he just wants to know where the guys have gone who got his car.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So you can see he's a huge misanthrope, and he's bereft of all hope, ambition. The only thing he's obsessed with is finding this car, which we don't know why yet, of course. So anyway, then he goes into the other room. He wants, and there's a dwarf sitting there with a couple of Oriental-looking fellas, and he says to him he wants to buy a gun. So the dwarf, who's an horrible little sod, really.
Yeah.
Isn't he?
He's just an aggressive.
He's just so aggressive, right? And he goes, "Oh bloody!" And then he takes him off to a caravan to buy this gun.
Yeah.
So when he goes in there, he gets a box of these guns out, and he says to him, "Right, that's $300." And Eric says, "I haven't got $300." He said, "Well, if you haven't got it, you can fuck off." He says to him.
Basically.
And with that, Eric shoots him through the head. He thinks, "No, I'll have it instead."
Have some of this.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And then he goes off. He goes off with the gun and the car and everything.
Yeah.
So not his car. He's still got their old truck.
Yeah.
So anyway, then it's here that Eric meets up with the Robert Pattinson character, whose name is Ray. Yeah. Now say a bit about him, his character. What do you reckon?
I think he's quite a he's almost, you can tell Guy Pearce has obviously been around for a while. His character, Eric.
Yeah.
And he wasn't born in the world when it was like this kind of desolate collapse. That's what they call it at the beginning. 10 years after the collapse, that's when it's set. And so you can see in Guy Pearce's performance, he's just completely it's just complete hopelessness. Like the opening shot when you first see him, and there's just these flies buzzing around him, and almost like just on his face, and he's completely not responding to that at all. He's just looking into the void.
Yeah, he's kind of not there, is he?
Yeah, that's it. Whereas Robert Pattinson is younger.
Yeah.
And I think he was born when it was coming up towards, so he doesn't really know any different.
Yeah.
So I think he's almost.
Oh, you see, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah. But that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah, it could be. That's why he kind of accepts the situation more. But he's a bit like pissed off because his brother's left him when the botched robbery. But he's not so manic as like the Guy Pearce character, is he? He's not at all. No.
I think, and during the course of the film, you can see Guy Pearce is educating him in a certain way, or revealing to a certain, and that's why,
and possibly vice versa as well,
and vice versa. Yeah. I think Ray's quite a vulnerable character.
Well, yeah, I mean, he plays the part of he's like simple, isn't he? There's something, there's some
refers to him as a half at one point, doesn't
mental disability there.
Yeah.
And he plays it so well. He really does. He's like, what a performance that is.
Oh yeah.
And also, he's speaking with an American like Southern drawl.
Yeah.
The explanation being that him and his brother went there to work on the mines in Australia.
Yeah.
But again, like his accent, I mean, he's an Englishman. His accent is really, it's amazing.
Oh yeah, yeah, so good. Sorry, just quickly, we home. You've been watching nothing but YouTube and TikTok lately. That's okay, no worries. I do get into a bit of a YouTube hole for a while, and so you kind of watch a lot of YouTube as well. Am I right?
Oh yeah, loads. Yeah.
You do. It's quite easy to do that.
But I try not to get into the comments too much.
Especially political.
It's not like the other. Well, you can get yourself like in. You know, you end up losing your rag a bit on there, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway.
Where were we up to? Oh yeah, so he meets the character.
Yes, he meets Ray.
So then he finds out that Ray's brother is the guy who's nicked his car.
Yep.
Who is the actor Scott McNairy.
Good actor.
Who's been in quite good things. He's very good as well.
Yeah.
He usually plays a bit of a dickhead, but he plays it quite well, doesn't he?
Did you ever see? Did you ever see Killing Them Softly?
Yes.
I think he's in that.
Was he the guy when they turn over the poker game?
Yes. Yeah.
Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
James Gandolfini.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. So carry on.
Any more offers?
I think I'm done.
Yeah. And I'm spent.
And I'm spent.
So he needs to take Ray to get some medical help because he got shot in the botched robbery, and he needs him to find Henry, his brother, because he's got his car, which we know that he's obsessed with retrieving. So they eventually find a place where, right out in the middle of nowhere, where there's a woman that can help him with the medical stuff. Mm-hmm. Which is that, and then it gets quite weird there as well, because he goes to the place and the woman's like patching Ray up and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then he goes into a room and there's a load of dogs in there, and the woman says to him that these dogs are what people have left, and she's looking after them. She keeps them hidden away because other people will use them for food.
Yeah.
And he seems to be he ponders that quite a bit about what's going on there, which is possibly a little clue about his objectives, isn't it?
Yes,
maybe.
Exactly. Mate, who knows?
Yeah, and then so you think he'd have a bit of empathy for her?
Yes. Which, you think that at the start as well, but then he does. He treats her quite violently.
Sort of bodyguard type character, which we'll go on to in a minute. He gets killed.
Yeah. And
he doesn't seem to acknowledge how.
He kind of wrestles her to the ground.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the guys from they're also in the circus, and they were pissed off about their dwarf getting killed. Obviously, they go after him. They go after him, and they kill the bodyguard, and then he shoots them with a rifle out the window.
Yeah.
He shoots the two in the front of the car.
Scene, by
good.
The way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. And shoots the other guy. And then what happens then? So. Then they decide to move on, having then he threatens Ray with a gun, saying, "You better tell me." You know, makes it clear that he wants to know where Henry's gone. Mm-hmm. So he leaves her in bits, really. This poor woman, which makes you wonder about his character. You're thinking, what's this guy? What's he all about? What's his? First of all, what's his objective?
Yeah.
And what is he?
He's an interesting protagonist.
Yeah. He's kind of like an anti-hero, isn't he?
Yeah, anti-hero. Yeah.
You know, he's not likeable, to be honest with you. Mm. He's not, but perhaps you can sympathise with him in the end. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we have that, and then there's a seat that they stop at a motel, and whilst at the motel, Ray sees some soldiers, in a car. Obviously, maybe looking for him after the botched armed robbery. So he hides behind the bed, and then he gets a knock on the door. So he shoots, and it goes through the door. Mm-hmm. But instead of killing a soldier who he thinks after him, he kills a girl who's just doing room service.
Yeah.
Anyway, after that, the soldiers come back and there ensues a bit of a gun battle with him in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Eric hears this. He's sitting round the corner, and he hears this, and he kills the soldier. And they manage to make off again. So then, what happens then? They're sort of they go somewhere else, and Eric's asleep on the floor. And Ray goes off to go to the loo, but Eric gets arrested, right? And they like some soldiers come and they nick him, obviously thinking he may have been the one responsible for the scene at the motel. And they take him back to their sort of base. And then there's a bit which you perhaps wanted to say about.
Which bit was this?
When he's sort of talking to him and he says about.
Yes, sorry. So when he's being held up, sorry. So he gets held up by the authorities, I guess, and it basically, I can't remember the exact line that he says, but he says something that might comes across as a threat to the guy. So the guy says, "Are you threatening me?" And then Eric just says no. Like a threat would mean as if something was going to happen.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think that sentence really was a massive sort of line in the script. I think that was just kind of about what it's all about, really, which is almost about nothing. Yeah. In a way, but it's just about how the whole collapse that's happened and everyone's going to meet the same end. It's quite a bleak sort of outlook that you can really get an insight.
There's nothing much to look forward to whatsoever, is there?
And he does during this scene. He does go into. You discover a bit about his past. Yeah. With his ex-wife, who he says about 10 years ago as well. So I think it must have happened just before everything started going to shit in the world.
There's an economic collapse. Yeah.
Yeah. And he reveals that he's murdered his wife and his wife's lover as well. Yeah. Right, and they meet. But the interesting part about this reveal as well, that he says that, but what was more upsetting than the infidelity that his wife had on him was the fact that he didn't face the consequences for it at all.
Yeah, nothing
actually happened. So he that was kind of the beginning of his loss of faith in humanity, I guess. Yeah. It's a really, really good scene.
He said the thing that it's like the event, he killed them and buried them both, and no one took any notice. No one came after him. He basically didn't have to pay for it in any way at all. So that kind of, in a way, that makes it into a worthless action to make, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that's it.
And that's what he doesn't like.
Yeah, he's not a fan of that.
So what happens then is Ray turns up and he kills the 3 soldiers.
Yeah.
But he does this seemingly quite, he's no slouch in the gunfight department, is he? And he
he's almost boasts about it as well afterwards.
Well, he's not bothered about it at all. Whereas, as we find out, he's bothered about the girl. I suppose there is a difference. Like, the girl wasn't a protagonist in any way, was she? She was just
Yeah.
Anyway, he falls in like. Eric doesn't really thank him or anything, but that's not his style, was it?
And almost Eric's expression on his face, you could see he's almost like disagreeing with Ray's reaction to that. Like, it shouldn't be something that should be celebrated.
Yeah. As if he's not quite sure whether he wants to get saved or not.
Yeah, exactly.
He probably wants to get saved in order to carry out what he's obsessed about. But apart from that, he wants to pay for what he's done. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then there's a scene where they're camping at night, and Ray's talking, and he says he feels guilty about killing the girl, as we were saying. And he said he can't stop thinking about it. And Eric says, well, that's the price you pay for taking a life. Obviously, this must be a reference to his own murder of his wife. Although subsequent murders don't seem to register. Yeah. As I say, it's in the heat of battle. I suppose that's the reason for that.
Yes. Yeah.
So anyway, there we are. But then, so what happens then? Eventually, they catch up with the gang. Who are shacked up in this, obviously another desolate kind of town.
Yeah.
And they go in there. Now there's a bit where Eric sits in the car, and you think to yourself, he's not sure whether he's going to go in or not, because he could just bugger off. Now he's got the car back,
couldn't he? Car back, yeah. And that's kind of the only, almost the only part. Well, actually, not really, apart from the very end, but one of a couple of parts in the film where you see he's still got. Well, he's grown a bond with Ray over this time.
Yeah.
He's definitely disguised his feelings with hatred, I think, and
maybe because he doesn't want to get attached.
Exactly, because he's been stung before.
Yeah.
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 So that's a really interesting moment.
Yeah, but so anyway, he does go in. So he goes in and he holds up at gunpoint the two guys on the sofa, and Ray goes in and confronts his brother, asking him why he left him at the scene of the armed robbery, and they have there's a bit of a sort of Mexican standoff there.
Yeah.
But eventually, it kind of everything gets out of hand.
Yeah.
And shots are fired. Eric kills the two guys in the other room, and then Henry shoots Ray, which I found very sad. I didn't want him to go.
Oh yeah, that's a really sad moment.
And then Eric goes in and he shoots Henry. So they're all dead apart. Well, there's one old guy who's sitting on the bed, and I don't think he got shot.
Yeah. Again,
he's one of the Aussie extras.
Yeah.
You can tell he's a peculiar looking bloke.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and he just stands there. And then Guy Pearce, the acting there is great, because he's tears rolling down his cheeks, and he's just like, I don't know what he's saying there, but it's what you read into it, isn't it? Like I think he's sort of thinking about the futility of it all, perhaps.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I think,
yeah.
Yeah, and it's exactly and it's almost the tragedy of Ray passing as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that whole scene. I love that whole scene.
Yeah.
It's a really even though we've just kind of described it to you, even just watching it's a whole different experience. I think.
Yeah.
It's very throughout the whole thing, you get just the feeling of the brutality of the world they live in.
Well, absolutely, because nothing means anything anymore, which I'll go on to a bit about that. But anyway, so then he burns all the corpses. Pours petrol over them all and sets fire to them.
Yeah. And
then the last scene, we then realise why he wanted the car back as much as he did. Which was the first time I watched it. It was not something I expected. But he parks up by the side of the road, gets a shovel out, and he's got his dead dog in the boot.
Yeah.
And of course, he wanted to bury him all along. That was his last thing he had in his life, and that's what meant so much about him. Which I thought was quite a good way to end it, because you understood, exactly what was going on then.
Yeah.
It was a world bereft of feelings and morals, and that was all that was left.
Yeah. Powerful ending.
Very much so. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
Especially for any dog lovers out there.
Well, yeah, like me, of course, but yeah. So what did you think about in general the whole shebang?
The whole shebang.
Yeah.
I think I remember very clearly, before I even saw the film, I remember I've just seen the Dean's comment. Sorry, don't drag the dwarves into it, Ken. We ain't all.
Oh, sorry. I knew she'd stick up for her lot.
Our spiritual demon's a big fan of this film as well. We were talking about it the other day.
Oh right, oh yeah, good. I'm glad someone enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely heartbreaking but incredible ending.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I thought.
Yeah,
I wasn't kind of expecting that at all. That's what it was, but that's what. Yeah,
I think.
But there was a little clue there with the dogs previously, wasn't there?
Yes, and that also alludes to the title of the film,
the Rover,
which you think means the vehicle in the film, and then so I remember seeing the trailer for this film at the cinema, can't remember what film I went to see, but I remember the trailer, and it's a really, really good trailer. I don't know if you ever seen that before you saw the film, but it's really well made trailer. It doesn't give too much away, and has this great soundtrack. Enter One by Soul Seppi is the song, and it's real good tone set. It's not actually in the final film, but it is a real good tone setter for the kind of melancholy feel of it. It's a very, and I just remember wanting to see it from then, and the first time I watched it I thought it was brilliant, and really it's a very serious film. There's very well, there's like no laughs in it at all, is there? There's very massive atmosphere about it, and I think even just like the writer and director David Michod, something like that.
Michod, or
Michod.
however you pronounce that.
Australian fella.
Yeah.
And
it was written by him and Joel Edgerton, who's an Australian actor, who was going to play the part of Eric, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad Pearce did, because I think he was very good.
Guy Pearce was fantastic in it. One of his best roles.
I think so.
Although he did pretty much everything he's in. Great. Memento.
Oh yeah.
It's good in that.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Lawless?
Lawless with Tom Hardy.
Yeah, he's horrible in that.
Yeah,
he's really good
horrible.
at that. And I think this was the first one. Robert Pattinson kind of branched out from his Twilight persona.
Yeah.
Which I think he really wanted to do as well. He kind of wanted to break away from being seen as the teenage heartthrob.
Yeah, absolutely.
When did this, he did around the same time he did Cosmopolis, the David Cronenberg film as well.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, that's quite an interesting one. Of course, he's the new Batman, which I'm quite excited to see.
Yeah, the Batman.
The Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. But as the film itself, I think just preparing for this was only the second time I've watched it. I only watched it once before, and until we talked about it again, and I thought, oh yeah, I just suddenly remembered how good it was, and I think it's brilliant.
You got a guy called David Field, was one of the three Run of the Robbers, and he was Keithy in Chopper.
Yeah. Yes.
That was him. The one who
cool.
he puts black polish on his bald spot, and Chopper picks up on it, and he cuts him up in the prison yards kind of thing. Bit of a naughty scene, that one.
We should cover.
But that was him. He always plays a like bolshy Aussie reprobate kind of character, doesn't he? Right, yeah. So he was in it.
A little typecast.
Yeah. So like the cinematography, I thought it was interesting. It was
yes, by cinematography was by Natasha Breyer.
Right. Okay.
There you go. Name drop.
Yeah, and it I thought it captured the sense of hopelessness and the entropy everywhere, because it's like nature reclaims everything as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it just, everything was just knackered, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah.
You can feel the hot atmosphere as well.
Yeah.
Like Australia, the sweat.
Just arid everywhere, and
just very uncomfortable
and
to
then
watch.
I don't know if I mentioned the scene with the train, like when they wait for the long train to go past.
Oh no, you didn't. Yeah.
And there were such soldiers riding shotgun, and they just stare at Ray, which kind of showed the undercurrent of violence. Like violence is everywhere. That's the that's the name of the game. It's like the old Wild West, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And I've also put up that the narrative was quite loose and left room for speculation. But that's what I kind of like. It's a bit like the No Country for Old Men thing, where you
very similar. Yeah.
You can think about it afterwards, and you like any art form. Art's all about interpretation, I think, and there's no objective answer there. You see.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah, exactly.
So.
I think. Really. It kind of leaves you stunned after you watch it, particularly the first time. You're taking it all in, and even I watched an interview earlier, with Guy Pearce, Robert Pattinson, and the director talking about it.
Yeah.
And even Guy Pearce himself in the interview said it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea.
Well, no, I would imagine it's not actually. I can quite see that.
It's quite a. It's not the hardest watch I've ever had.
No.
But it is. It's just heavy themes, I guess.
I mean, So I took away from it. I watched it again earlier actually. I took away that perspective and circumstance determines what anything is worth.
Mm-hmm.
It's so in the film you've got the character of Ray, and he's struggling with the fact that his brother left him, and because that's in the now.
Yeah,
that's what he's focused on. But for Pearce, like Guy Pearce, it's nothing. Nothing is worth anything at all. Only his dog. So maybe they've got that in common.
Yeah.
But Ray's a little bit more optimistic than Eric, isn't he?
Yeah.
You know, he thinks that there might be other stuff to go to, and of course there's not really.
Yeah. Exactly.
There's nothing more. So it's like, what in fact is anything really worth? Goes back to the meaning of life. If you haven't got those small goals and those things to aim for, like your micro goals, if you like. I mean, none of us are ever going to have any impact in a cosmic sense, are we?
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
You know, it's what you can achieve with the little things. And if you have a world where there's nothing worth anything, what is there?
What can you
nothing.
Do? Yeah, exactly.
It's a bit of a nihilist outlook.
It's interesting with looking at it from Eric's perspective.
Yeah.
There's a couple of points when you think, particularly in that scene when he's talking about 10 years ago and the murder of his wife and everything, it almost seems like he's always been a bit of had that kind of outlook even before the collapse happened, because he got pushed to the point where he could actually commit murder.
Yeah.
So that I thought that was interesting, the fact that even before the apocalypse rained down and shat on everything, for lack of a better phrase.
But you see, if there is nothing, or if you live in that atmosphere as well, in an outback kind of, because Australia and the outback there, you could, I mean, like Wolf Creek, where he kills so many people and no one even knows about it.
Yeah.
Because it's such a vast country, things don't mean quite the same.
That's a tough one as well. Yeah.
I mean, went around doing that in Nebworth, someone would notice, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Well, it's such a close community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
it's a good idea for a film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what was I going to? I don't know what I was going to say now.
This does often happen for a stream.
It happens every day. I'm at that age.
Yeah. Spiritual Demon originally watched it just for Guy Pearce. You do love Guy Pearce. He's a fantastic actor.
He is. Started in Neighbours.
Did he really? I didn't know that.
Everyone needs good neighbours.
Yeah.
In the song. God almighty. He did.
Wow. Didn't know that. And that wasn't Kylie in that as well? Kylie Minogue?
Kylie Minogue. Who's the bloke who did... Who's the bloke who was with her in Neighbours?
I don't know.
What was his name? He was like a pop star as well, and he was in Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Shit.
Come on. We need this.
We might have to Google it.
Jason Donovan.
Yeah,
he was in it as well, wasn't he?
He was in Neighbours, yes.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was going to say now as well. Neighbours.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's about it, really. I mean, I just hope that a few more people get to see it.
It's very underrated.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, the thing is, what we've just been through, all of us, for the last year or whatever, makes you wonder, doesn't it?
We're coming close to the collapse.
Yeah.
I hope not, obviously. Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I find the two even the background characters are quite layered. Like, you kind of, particularly Grandma's character. She's only referred to as Grandma in the film.
Yeah. Well, she wants to know his name, you see, and he won't tell her his name because he's not in. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
To him anymore, but it matters to her. She's trying to get some sort of human contact somewhere, isn't she?
Having any of it, yeah.
No. And then she says to him in the end. She said he's pointing the gun at her, and she just pushes the gun away. And she says, "Just now you're being rude." That's what she says to him.
Yeah.
Which I didn't expect her to say that. That was quite a weird one.
Now you're just being rude.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's quite an interesting place. Like, you can almost see him. He almost has a bit of disgust going into that place as well, just because.
Oh yeah, well, you would do. I mean, I would as well. It's bloody horrible.
How she describes the place, like, obviously, it's pretty rough. Yeah,
I think really, if things did turn out like that, it's not worth being around, is it? You're gonna come to a pretty untimely end, aren't you? Something nasty's gonna happen to you. So
exactly. Talking a particular image in the film which I thought was really haunting. The crucifixions in the desert.
Oh yeah, that's right.
When
they
drive
along the road, yeah.
You can see Ray looking out the window, and he's kind of
because again, that's part of the thing where there's no consequences for people doing that. They just do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what would happen if you had anarchy in a lawless society. People can do what they like.
Exactly. What's stopping them?
You know, some people moan about the police, but if you didn't have them, what would happen?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think, that was really striking, that bit. And the music by, I did write his name, Anthony Partos.
Right.
Yeah. I think the music's great in it.
What about the bit where he's sitting in the car, Ray, and playing the pop song?
The pop song, yeah.
And he's singing along to it. So he's latching on to some kind of normality, if you like. And some kind of like kindness and good happy thoughts.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what he wants. Whereas Eric ain't got time for any of that.
No,
he's not interested in any of that.
Exactly.
Yeah. You
can see he kept like, I keep forgetting his name for some reason. Eric.
Yeah.
Gets attached to him over the course of the film.
I think so. Yeah.
Even though he treats him like shit.
I think, in fact, it's worth watching it for those two characters alone.
Oh yeah, they're kind of
the acting in it was sublime, actually.
Yeah, doubt. So good.
Yes.
And and anyone who still doubts Robert Pattinson as an actor should definitely.
Well, yeah, I went to see him in the Lighthouse.
I
went to see it on my own, obviously, because it was in black and white. No one wants to go and see black and white movies.
Yeah.
But that was good. That was a bit of a psychotic kind of movie, actually.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. It was a bit. I couldn't quite get my head around it actually the first time.
I thought it was very kind of stressful. Because you're thinking, what's going to any minute now? The tension was building all the time because there's only the two of them.
Yeah.
In the Lighthouse, which is probably what it would have been. So there's only 2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
Used to man bloody things, but
the ending was just complete madness as well.
Yeah.
Love the ending of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because he keeps it's Willem Dafoe, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he keeps kind of pushing him all the time.
And
all of a sudden he thinks, oh, I've had enough of this now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's about covered it, I think.
I think so. There was a couple of points.
Yeah.
There's a point, so towards the beginning, there's some great shots in it. I just wanted to mention as well, like the bit with right towards the beginning when Guy Pearce enters almost like this kind of bar, isn't it?
Yeah.
With the music playing and he's just having some water, and then you pan over to Ray's brother, and all of a sudden it's a very quick change of pace. Like it's almost like a scene from Reservoir Dogs or something.
Yeah.
Like they're just on the run from somewhere, and then it pans back to Guy Pearce with this music, and you just see the car tipple over in the background and go past the window. It's completely can't hear it at all. There's a lot of shots like that in the film that I think are really beautifully done. Spiritual Demon. I couldn't believe that Robert Pattinson could actually act until I saw this and was blown away by his performance.
I totally agree. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
It kind of made me a fan of his after that.
Spiritual Demon. Have you seen, and Dad, have you seen The Devil All the Time?
Yes, and I read the book first.
Yeah.
But I read the book years ago.
Right.
What's the guy's name? Is it J.R. Ellery or something or other?
Yes. He narrated the film as well, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's very much... I don't know if it's the Rust Belt in America or the Bible Belt, which bit it is, but it's that kind of lawlessness again.
Yeah,
right.
It's a similar theme, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But that the Devil All the Time. That's Jason Clarke in it as well, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, he's good in that as well.
He was in Zero Dark 30.
I've not seen that yet.
Oh, that's very good.
That.
Yeah, that's well worth watching.
Nice.
It's the Bin Laden thing.
Yeah.
With the Navy SEALs and that. It's good.
Yeah. apparently that got a lot of controversy at the time for its torture in the film. Apparently
Oh, that's pretty. Yeah, it's not very nice to watch.
No, I think I can't remember. There was some sort of controversy surrounding.
But of course, the waterboarding was considered President Bush considered that to be okay, and that's one of the worst things you can do to people because they makes you feel like you're drowning.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Ugh, yeah, it's horrible. But yeah, the devil all the time. I thought Robert Pattinson was great in that as well.
I might watch that
Very
again. Actually,
seedy
is that on
character.
Netflix? Is it?
Yes, it's Netflix original.
I
I
might
think.
watch that again.
Yeah, very very dark film actually.
Yeah.
I like how it all comes together without spoiling it. It all comes together towards the end. I'd like to read the book as well actually.
I'll lend it to you. Yeah.
That'd be cool. Dad's big on his books.
Mm.
How many did you say you have? Over 2,000.
Oh God, I don't know. I should stop buying them really, but. And I've got some on Kindle as well.
Yes, that's quite a good way of doing it, isn't it? Because you can just carry that around with you. Yeah. Something I wanted to which I noticed the second time watching, when his car's first stolen, and he's chasing after them in the Rover. I love it. I love that bit as well because he's pulling up close to him from behind, and it doesn't quite hit the car.
Yeah.
You can tell obviously it's his car, so he doesn't want to do that. But that's really cool chasing. But when he pulls up next to them, it's a really strange editing choice because when it pans to Guy Pearce, it's him in his car.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that watching
No,
it.
I didn't notice that one.
So it's him in this blue car, and I remember watching it thinking, is that some sort of continuity error? Because I thought that's a massive one, but I think it was actually kind of done on purpose. But
really?
I thought that was interesting.
Oh, I didn't notice that one.
Yeah, when you watch it again.
Because there's a bit where he points the gun at him and then he reverses quickly,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
that's
Or he
it.
just slows down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. I think it's just before that. So I thought that was pretty cool. I think that's about it. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think.
But basically, you wouldn't want to be there, right?
No.
You want to. It's not worth it. Any of it, is it? It's just nothing. It's probably worse than death.
Mm. Oh yeah. Don't want to get involved in that.
Don't want to get involved in that. Just kind of carry on.
Yeah. Carry on the Rover.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. How have you found it, Dad? Enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's very, very good. My debut.
Debut performance. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you're doing good today. Having a good weekend. Demon.
No, Spiritual Demon got Jason Donovan. Well done.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I hope work was alright today. Demon had a late shift last night and then an early shift today, so it's very stressful.
Didn't stop him thinking about Jason Donovan. So he's on the ball.
Yeah.
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 More than us.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. That's pretty good. Pretty good going.
Yeah.
And Nadine, thank you. We Home. Kristen, thank you for commenting. I hope we've convinced you guys to watch the film if you haven't seen it. Demon, I know you've seen it. And I can't fancy watching it again.
And sorry about the dwarf, Nadine, but... Yeah.
Oh, I think the dwarf, by the way, was actually...
Is it a dwarf or a midget?
Who knows? Sorry, I don't know.
What's the difference?
Oh, God. Apologies to anyone watching. Maybe.
Yeah.
Smaller.
Yeah. Well, Gervais actually does explain it, doesn't he?
He does. He does. He sort of does, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he was actually the same actor who was in Joker. Have you seen Joker?
Yeah.
There's he's in that as well, and there's that whole scene with Joker's like first kill.
What? Which one? What, the guy?
Dwarf.
Oh really?
Yeah,
oh, was
yeah.
it?
I'm pretty sure it's the same guy.
Oh right. Yeah.
Guys are laughing. I feel like
What's an elf then?
Yeah. Pointy ears.
Yeah.
Interesting little fact there. I don't know if that's a fact. I don't know if it's the same guy, but it looked like him. Cool. Well, I think we're gonna go.
Yeah.
It's been lovely, guys.
It
Thank
was
you.
interesting.
Yeah, it's been cool. We'll have to do it on Chopper, maybe. Maybe we could do one for Chopper.
Oh yeah, well, I haven't seen that for years.
Same.
Well, that's good.
That would be a good one. Eric Banner.
Yeah.
He's a right nutter. Isn't
Now I've seen on the extras of that Chopper, there's a bit where he interviews the real Chopper,
Oh, okay.
and he ain't. He's
He's
kind
not
of
there.
funny, but you wouldn't want to be around him.
No, being a bit too intense.
Yeah.
Bit like
Yeah.
Bronson. Very
Yeah.
similar to similar kind of films. Yeah. Thank you for the applause. Cool. Thank you, guys. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, guys.
We're gonna go.
Yeah.
And see you next time.
Yeah. Ta-da.
Ta-da!